Page 20, Soaring. We got a lot of notes in this one. 4/4 time. Let's take this one hand at a time. I'm going to start with the right hand. The right hand doesn't come in until the second line, so let's take a look at that. Second line, you're starting with the third finger on B, so you're in this position, G position here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So just make sure you can play all these notes and the rhythms. So forth. Over on page 21, second line here. Now it's two notes, a B and a D together. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now here, the notes are written here, C and a D, but see the 8VA in the dotted line? When an 8VA is above the staff like this, it means you go up an octave. So instead of this one, you go up to the next one, here. And it's here, 1, 2, and you stay there for as long as the dotted line keeps going. 2, 3. And then it comes down, there's a rest, and then you come back down for the next line. It's a regular here, 2. And then the last line, you got the 8VA again. You got to come back up here. Okay, the right hand. Now the left hand. We got all these eighth notes going on. If you take the first three notes here together, find it's just a G chord. You're in G position here. It's just a 1 chord. It's a broken chord. You're just going here, here, and I'm just transferring weight from note to note. I'm not holding it still trying to use the fingers to do it. I'm transferring weight here. That's all it is. At the third line down, now you change into a 5/7 chord here. You got these notes. Last line, you go back to the 1 chord, and the top page 21. Then you're here and here. These 2 chords are really all you're using. This whole piece is just this. We just broke the whole piece down for you right there. Put the hands together, starting with the second line. When we're playing together, you're here. You got eighth notes in the left hand to keep it steady. Keep those eighth notes steady, and you can tell where the notes line up, which note, when you play a note in the right hand here. The kicker here is you're using different fingers on the hands at different times. And you have to keep all that straight. And that gets confusing for a lot of people. So here at the beginning, it's here, here, and then here. Thumbs together aren't bad. But here, here, here. So it's like it gets all tied up and which fingers are doing what. Take it as slow as you got to take it. And if you have to, forget the rhythm. Just concentrate on when do you play a note together, because you can see them lining up. Let's go to the third line here on page 20. The first notes line up here, and then a C, and then the next notes line up here, and then another C, and then A's here and here. Line those up, and then keep going over it. Here, here, here. If you go over it a few hundred times, you eventually get it. And you get that feeling, and your brain starts to think, oh, this is what we're doing. And it starts to work out. And some people just get it right off the bat. It's really disgusting. They just get it, no trouble. But the rest of us had to work on this. I did not get this right off the bat. When I was first learning, this was hard for me because I was using different fingers in the hands. I got all mixed up. So you just take it really, really slow and don't worry about hesitating anywhere until you get the notes figured out. You can work out the hesitations later. Right now, we're just working on notes. Let's go to page 21. Second line, you're here, here. It's basically what you were doing before. We just added another note. Here, during that rest in the second line at the end here, that rest, you got to move up here. You got 1 beat to move up here. So just do it, because you got to be here ready to go in the next line. So the second measure of the second line there on page 21 here. You got to be right there ready to go. And again, the end of the third line, you got to come back down here. So during that rest, as you're playing this in the left hand, move down. So you're ready to go. And then at the end of the next line, you got to go back up. During the rest, move back up. Practice the hand move if you have to. And then work it out very slowly and go over those parts where you're having problems and hesitating. Get rid of the hesitations. These eighth notes got to be smooth all the way through. Once that first starts, that regular beat doesn't end until the very end of it. It's got to be steady. So work it out until then. You go as slow as you got to go. It doesn't matter. Eventually, you want it to... It's all legato, it's all smooth. You can lift up in the right hand between the phrases if you want, like on page 20, at the end of the second line here. Lift up before you go to the next line to take a breath. But the left hand doesn't lift up, it's all smooth. So to play those two lines, the second and third line on page 20, it's here. Lift up here, but not here. So, same thing. Lift up in the right hand. Lift up between these slurs in the right hand. Just a little lift. I'm exaggerating it for you, but just a little lift. Keep the left hand down throughout the whole thing. At the beginning here, in the first line, you see the P and the legato. Well, the P is for the dynamics. That's soft. That's telling you how soft or loud to play. The legato is for the articulation. That means connected. Legato is connected. I already told you, connect the left hand all the way through. Well, that's what that's telling you. Play it all connected. All the way in the left hand. But play it softly. Then when the right hand comes in, we want to hear the right hand. That needs to be soft, and the left hand has to go down to very soft. That's a trick, because on piano, the way our brains work is we tend to focus on the hand that's got all the stuff going on. That's busy. We tend to focus on that because we got so much happening, and we will play that louder just automatically. We'll just bring it out. It'll just happen. It's not my fault. It just happens. So we end up, and all we hear are the eighth notes. So you have to make a conscious effort to, when you play those eighth notes, play them very soft. We want to hear the right hand. All the way through, we want to hear it. When we get over to page 21, second line, they say medium, moderately loud here. You come up a little bit to keep the left hand soft. Third line is soft, but you're up here. It's like an echo almost. Then come back down to moderately loud. And the last line is soft again. And there's a retardando with spelled out, spread across. They don't need to do that. Just put in retardando and you're just going to do it. You just start slowing down to the end. Just slow the eighth notes down. Don't get too slow. We want it to end eventually, but that's the idea. Now, speed-wise, Allegro moderato is moderately fast, but it has to be the feel of it. It has to be fast. Whatever, it's, and the other hand, keep up. You don't have to go that fast. You're moderately allegro, whatever that is. How fast can you play this accurately, evenly, under control? That may tell you don't go beyond that. Now on top of that, they've added some pedal. Well, isn't this going to be fun? So let's talk about the pedal. I'm going to use overlapping pedal or synchronized pedal. There's a number of different names for it. The point is the notes are going to go down first and then I'll push the pedal down. The idea is I want to start the sound first before I release the overtones. So it sort of builds out. So at the beginning I'm going to push the G down and then the pedal. I'm going to hold the pedal down for the first 2 lines. Now I'm going to lift it up until the end of the second line. I'm going to lift the pedal up with that right hand because we got phrasing in the right hand, and I'm not pedaling the 3rd line. So to start with the 2nd line and go on, it's here. And the 3rd line we'll pedal that, but push the notes down and then the pedal. Now lift the pedal up with the hand and don't pedal the next measure. Then pedal this measure, but play the notes first. Then lift the pedal up with the hands. You can lift both hands here if you want. Everything. So there's just a moment because you see the double bars, it's a different section. So it's okay, we can have a little silence here. And then we do the same thing again basically. I want to adjust this slightly, but okay, this is here. We're going to pedal the whole line. Lift the pedal up. I would like to lift the pedal up on the 3rd or the 4th beat so we hear the rest. The problem is then we mess up the left hand here. But if it goes by so fast, who cares? So if you want, lift the pedal up with the right hand at the end of the measure here. Lift the pedal up with the here. So the 2nd line. Here, and then we don't pedal this measure or the line. Pedal the 3rd line like we did the 2nd. And here, the last line we only pedal the last measure. And at the end, the pedal and the hands come up together. Now on page 21, on the 2nd and 4th lines in the 2nd measure of those, whether you lift the pedal up with the right hand or you leave it down for the whole line is up to you. But, be consistent. So to 2nd line, 2nd measure, here, I can lift the pedal up with the right hand, or I can just leave the pedal down and we cover up the rest. Because we do cover up rest sometimes when we play piano. I don't like to if I can help it. The rest is there for a reason. It's probably there more to give you time to move your hand than anything else. Otherwise it could be a half note. And that was nice of them. You see, the pedal indications that they give in these things are suggestions. What I'm telling you, they're all suggestions. Your teacher may have other suggestions. That's okay. It's not really a right or wrong answer here. It's just what sound are you after? What's your preference? Now there are some other pedalings we could suggest in here, but we're going to keep the pedaling simple because you got enough to think about here. So let's just leave the pedaling the way it is. Otherwise, I would suggest some other things because I don't like the sound of having a lot of overtones here and then in the next line having it all clean. To me, that's too much difference. If I'm going to have the overtones in the 2nd line, I want the overtones throughout. But let's not go there. It's hard enough just the way it is, so just leave the pedaling the way it is. You can come back to this later on when you learn other pedaling techniques and maybe incorporate those into this at that time. I would like to play this with you very slowly. Not going to do the dynamics, but I will do the pedaling, and let's try it out just to make sure we got the right notes and rhythms. I'll give us 4 counts. 1 and 2 and ready and go and 1. 3 and 4 and off.